In July 1944, as World War II was nearing its end, 730 delegates from 44 nations gathered at a remote hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. The world was in ruins, and the global economy was a total mess. The goal? To design a new financial system that would prevent another Great Depression and ensure global stability. Before the war, many countries used the gold standard, where paper money was directly backed by gold. But during the conflict, countries printed massive amounts of money to pay for weapons, leading to instability. The delegates needed a system that offered the reliability of gold but the flexibility to grow. The primary architect of this new plan was Harry Dexter White of the United States and the famous British economist John Maynard Keynes. They proposed a system where currencies were pegged to the US dollar, and the US dollar was, in turn, pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. This meant that the US dollar became the world's reserve currency. Countries would hold dollars instead of gold, trusting that the US would always be able to exchange those dollars for physical gold if requested. It was an era of unprecedented faith in the American Treasury. To manage this system, they created two major institutions, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, to monitor exchange rates, and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, now known as the World Bank, to help rebuild war-torn Europe and eventually develop other nations. For the first 2 decades, the system worked well. Europe and Japan rebuilt their economies, global trade expanded, and the US economy flourished. This period is often called the Golden Age of Capitalism, characterized by steady growth and low inflation. But by the late 1960s, cracks began to show. The United States was spending heavily on the Vietnam War and new social programs, leading to massive government deficits. To pay for this, the US printed more dollars than it actually had in gold reserves to back them up. Other nations, particularly France, grew suspicious. They realized the number of dollars circulating globally far exceeded the actual gold sitting in American vaults. Nations started to worry that their dollar reserves were losing their true value. The pressure peaked in 1971. President Charles de Gaulle of France began demanding that the US exchange their paper dollars for physical gold. Other nations followed suit, creating a run-on-the-bank scenario where the US gold reserves began to drain rapidly. Faced with a total depletion of gold reserves, President Richard Nixon made a historic decision on 15 August 1971. In a televised address, he announced that the US would stop converting dollars into gold. This became known as the Nixon shock. With this move, the core of the Bretton Woods system was dismantled. The world moved from a gold-backed currency system to a fiat system, where money has value because governments declare it so, and because of the public's trust in that government's economy. The collapse showed that international financial systems rely on trust. When the US could no longer maintain the discipline required to keep its currency pegged to a finite resource like gold, the system had to change. Today, we live in a world of floating exchange rates determined by market forces. The lesson of Bretton Woods is simple: financial systems are only as stable as the commitments made by the countries managing them. When the burden of maintaining a fixed peg outweighs the economic and political benefits, history shows that the system will inevitably evolve or break.